Today in Cannabis News, in spite of comments from the Washington, D.C. police chief, the White House refuses to link cannabis commerce to a rise in violent crime. According to Senator Cory Booker, legislators are holding conversations with the White House regarding cannabis in effort to persuade President Joe Biden to support federal cannabis policy reform. And following approval from a U.S. House panel, Congress will vote on cannabis, psychedelics, and cannabidiol amendments. It's Wednesday, July 28th, and this is your Trichomes Morning Buzz.
Broadcasting live from the Trichomes.com studios in Southern California. It's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
First up, while the Washington, D.C. police chief stated last week that the concerns are linked, the White House refused to attribute illegal cannabis sales to an increase in violent crime in the district this week. D.C. Police Chief Robert Contee stated that illicit cannabis commerce, which they claim has been forgotten during the nationwide policy reform wave, is partly to blame for the rise in violent crime. After voters passed a 2014 measure to legalize the possession and production of recreational cannabis, activists blame Congress for repeatedly supporting a budget legislation rider that bans the district from overseeing retail sales, thereby subjecting cannabis trade to the criminal sector. A U.S. House panel cleared a sweeping spending bill last month, which would allow the district to legalize cannabis commerce by eliminating the rider. The bill is anticipated to pass the full chamber this week. A member of Fox News questioned White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki explicitly on Monday if President Joe Biden's administration believes it may be time to get tougher on marijuana in consideration of the police chief's remarks. Despite President Biden's continued opposition to recreational cannabis legalization, Psaki did not rush to demonize cannabis. Instead, they pivoted to discuss crime more broadly, saying that the issue is one we're working in close partnership through both the Justice Department as well as our Community Violence Intervention Collaborative. We're looking to address a range of causes, working in close partnership with the mayor and local police to bring crime down in our city.
Next up, in a Twitter Q&A, U.S. Senator Cory Booker was asked how they intend to get President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris on board with the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act, which Senator Booker presented this month alongside Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senate Finance Committee Chairman Ron Wyden. Activists believe that because of President Biden's resistance to extensive reform, they would veto the proposal even if Congress sends it to their office. Booker replied, saying that now that a discussion draft of our legislation has been released, we will start having conversations with the White House to get them behind our proposal. There have been considerable doubts about if the senators will be able to secure the 60 votes required to pass the bill on the floor. Despite the fact that the Democrats have a majority in Congress, some Democrats have expressed reservations about the sweeping proposal. As a result, some industry shareholders are disappointed that Booker has decided not to move the Secure and Fair Enforcement or SAFE Banking Act through first, despite the fact that the proposal to safeguard banks that serve state-authorized cannabis companies is bipartisan and has a much better likelihood of passing the Senate. When questioned on that concern again last week, Booker replied that Congress cannot enact marijuana reform without real restorative justice for those most harmed by the drug war.
Last up, as part of a large-scale budget bill, a crucial House panel approved a number of cannabis and psychedelics-focused amendments for voting in the chamber this week. The committee did, though, oppose two provisions on housing safeguards for cannabis users that proponents of legalization have sought to see pass. One of the more prominent modifications approved by the House Rules Committee for probable inclusion in spending legislation would delete a rider that proponents claim limits federal funding for studies into Schedule I substances, such as psilocybin, MDMA, and ibogaine. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the sponsor of the reform proposal, which tackles a clause from the 1990s that has consistently been included in appropriations legislation for the Department of Health and Human Services, or HHS. In 2019, Representative Ocasio-Cortez tried to repeal the provision through an amendment, but it was opposed by Republicans and most of their own party. However, when it comes to drug policy issues, this is not the only proposal this spending session. Some have the support of reformers, while others have been heavily criticized. Among the amendments supported by advocates is one that would urge the Food and Drug Administration to establish standards permitting CBD to be used as a dietary supplement and food ingredient.
That was today's Buzz. Thanks for listening. For more cannabis news and insights from industry professionals and a place to discuss these stories and others, visit trichomes.com.
And be sure to catch up with all of our other cannabis industry-related podcasts like Hash It Out, Careers in Cannabis, or the International Cannabis Conversation wherever you get your podcasts. For trichomes.com, I'm Devin Leal.
And I'm RJ Balde, signing off.